Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. I'm sorry for the delay. Our daylight savings here in the West came early this year, and people in Europe and Israel do not do daylight savings till the end of the month. So as long as we try to stay coordinated, just got my message back from Rabbi Goldberg early this morning, and so he's only going to do a shorter class today, but it's always a joy to be with the Rabbi and hear the wonderful light of Torah from the nation of Israel. So, Rabbi Goldberg, we're going to turn the class over to you, sir. I've got Angela up on the screen.
It's okay.
There you go. You're live, Rabbi.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Jerusalem. Hope everything is fine. By us, we're trying, we're going, we're continuing with all of the respect to Joe Biden or others. We're still in a war. It's not easy. But let's dive inside. Let's learn a bit. Let's understand a bit more from the Torah. I think it's important. So let's go inside. We started to see a bit from the ethics of the fathers, and we came. Let me share the screen. It's true that we will have a bit shorter lesson today, unless Rabbi Hirschler will manage to go inside, and then he will continue things, and I need to go. We are in the middle of we started the ethics of the fathers, and we came to what we call Mishnah number 4. Number 4, after we saw, let me go back upwards, after we saw all the, I will say, the message, how the Torah passed on from Moses and Mount Sinai, and since then, Joshua, the elders, the prophets, the big assembly, and then we had Rabbi Shimon HaTzedek. He's not even called the rabbi. He's so high-ranked person that he's not even called the rabbi. We have one, and then we have another one, Antigonus Ish Socho, who got from him, and we spoke about this thing of understanding what is Yirat Shamayim, what is this fear of heaven that we're speaking about. We spoke about this last week. Now we have few, what we call Mishnah, a few parts that is coming with couple of people twice. So 5 times we have couple of 3 people. Okay, so let's read number 4, please. Please, this is it.
Okay, Yossi ben Yozer, a man of Zedera, and Yossi ben Yohanan, a man of Jerusalem, received the oral tradition from them, Shimon the righteous and Antigonus. Yossi ben Yoza used to say, "Let thy house be a house of meeting for the sages, and sit in the very dust of their feet, and drink in their words with thirst."
Okay, so he is saying 3 things. And we can read also the next one just for reading it. We won't deal with this tonight, but please.
Yossi ben Yochanan, a man of Jerusalem, used to say, "Let thy house be wide open, and let the poor be members of thy household. Engage not in too much conversation with women." They said this with regard to one's own wife. How much more does the rule apply with regards to another man's wife? From here, the sages said, as long as a man engages in too much conversation with women, he causes evil to himself. He neglects the study of the Torah, and in the end, he will inherit Gehenna.
Okay, so from now on, please, Angelica, please go down from this screen, and we don't want to speak with you anymore. I'm joking, I'm laughing. Fair enough. So we need to understand this Mishnah, but this won't be tonight, okay? Let's tonight speak. First of all, let's start with the first thing, and it's very interesting. We have a couple. We don't have one. From now onwards, we have a couple, and then we have more than one in each generation. Till now, I will say it like that. Till now, we didn't have any arguments on how or what exactly is the halachic way, what exactly we are supposed to do. We're speaking about almost 1,400 years, something like that, to 300 years, that we didn't have any arguments. We were, in a situation where everything was closed after they had the debate inside the big assembly, or they had a debate inside, between the sages in the specific generation. They have decided exactly what to do. And they said, went out to the whole nation, and they said to them, only from here we're starting to have some sort of a debates. They had a very big argument about something that is related with the Temple Mount and how to behave on the holidays, okay, regarding the sacrifices, what exactly you are allowed to do and not allowed to do. And it will continue for 5 generations, not 1 generation. And from there onwards, there will be more and more and more split and more argument. And it won't be, I will say, the Torah will get broader and broader and broader. Okay, will expand the borders much bigger than just one way how to behave. So this is the first thing. And now, in Hebrew it says that those two got from them. Now, in the English, he's trying to say, okay, i.e., Shimon, the righteous, and Antigonus. Those are the two that we had before that. Antigonus is in Mishnah 3, and Shimon, the righteous, is in the second Mishnah. But this is only one interpretation. Okay, there are other interpretations, like they got it from the big assembly, or that they got it from. There is also a different verse that it says that they accepted or they got the Torah from Antigonus only. Okay, from him, not from them. This is how it's written down here. I won't go inside. It's not so. I will say it like that. It's not the biggest. There isn't any big difference to understand all those things. The more important is that it's still continuing. I will say like that. The Torah have some sort of a continuous inherited chain that is continuing onwards, and it's not that one generation decided for themselves to start from the beginning all the Torah. It's not working like that. We are all related to Moses in Mount Sinai, into the part of this chain. I'm speaking about the main part of Judaism. Okay. And now let's go inside to the 3 things that he's saying. He's saying 3 things. Let your house, okay, it's written down here like that. Your house to be the house of a meeting for the sages. This is the first thing. Second thing is sit in the dust, in the very dust of their feet. What is the meaning of this? Okay. And drink in their words, okay, with thirst. What exactly is the meaning of those 3 things? So the first one is much easier to understand. By the way, it's very simple to do this today. When you say that bring your house to become the meeting of the sages, there are 2 ways how to do that today. The first one is really to bring sages inside your home. Very nice. Accept your sages inside your home. Bring the situation that all of the sages will decide when they're having a meeting or gathering. They will say to themselves, it's a very simple way to have it. In the house of Dan. Chacham Dan will accept us. Let's be there. Okay. We have also another home in the British Columbia area, in the house of Angelica. We can come there. We have to find a good place. Let's go be there. Okay. This is what he is saying. But I want to go a bit more, inside to the idea of this. Today, by the way, we can do this also with the internet very much. Okay, it's our decision what we watching and what we're looking on the internet. Are we going to look only all sorts of movies? I don't know, people like that, or we're going to bring also sages inside to our home. We have the possibility to live in Belgium and to listen to all sorts of sages, to bring them to our home, to bring them to our room. We have a room, we have a space, but it's with us. They are with us. We can speak with them. We can discuss with them. We can have emails with them. We can try to have, from time to time, also in a private discussion with them, whatever it is, we can bring the sages inside to our home today. It's something even much easier, much easier to do that. This is another thing that we can say. But I want to continue to say something a bit more to that. We need to understand who was this Yosef and Yohezed. And for understanding that, just a moment, something is bothering me here. Let me move him from the to understand that there is let me bring it in front of all of us. Okay, so let's go to the Sefaria again. And let's go to the Babylon Talmud. Okay, we have you see it only in Hebrew. Just a moment, let's bring it also to English. No. Let's go. Sorry. Let's go to the Mishnah in Sotah. Okay. Let's go to the English version also. Why can't I see it in the English version? Maybe like this. There it is. Okay. We can read all of this. You know what? We don't need to read everything, but never mind. Let's read it because it's also very important. Please, the Mishnah further states. Please.
Okay, the Mishnah further states, from the time when murderers proliferated, the ritual of the heifer whose neck is broken was nullified. The ritual was performed only when the identity of the murderer was completely unknown. Once there were many known murderers, the condition for the performance of the ritual were no longer present, as the probable identity of the murderer was known. From the time when Eliezer ben Dinai, who was also called Tehina ben Perisha, came, they renamed him son of a murderer. This is an example of a publicly known murderer. The Mishnah teaches a similar occurrence from the time when adulterers proliferated. The performance of the ritual of bitter waters was nullified. They would not administer the bitter waters to the sota, and it was Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai who nullified it, as it is stated, I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your, can you scroll it up? Nor your daughters-in-law when they commit adultery, for they consort with lewd women. Hosea 4:14. Meaning that when the husbands are adulterers, the wives are not punished for their own adultery. From the time when Yossi ben Yozer of Zereda and Yossi ben Yehuda of Jerusalem died, the clusters ceased, i.e., they were the last of the clusters as explained in the Gemara. As it is stated, there is no cluster to eat, nor first ripe fig that my soul desires, from Micah 7:1.
So we have here two giants, we'll say like that, that both of them together, or each one of them and both of them together, were holding the full Torah, okay, from beginning to the end. Since then, we don't have anyone that is with this, I will say, broad understanding. And when I'm saying the Torah, I think we said it more than once, God, he didn't create only the religious side of the world. He created everything. They had a very large knowledge of a lot of things, things and how they are related with the Torah and with the words of God. Since then, we lost it. They were the last one in this, I will say, mindset, in this large, big, huge mindset of completely everything of the Torah with all of the sides and broad understanding of the Torah. So now we're starting to realize who is this Yosef ben Yoezer, Ish Sada, and Yosef ben Yochanan, Ish Yerushalayim, both of them. Okay? And what is he guiding us? He's guiding us to bring the Torah inside to our home, to put our house as a place where people will find themselves in I will say, in a good shape or in a good stage to say to themselves, if they are people of Torah, let's meet each other in his home, at his place, because his place is accepting us. We're feeling comfortable there. And this is a way of accepting or acknowledging the Torah. I want to show something from Proverbs. This is how we call it in English. What we call Sefer Mishlei. How do you say it in English? Proverbs. So let's see something in Proverbs in chapter 13. Let's read verse number 20. Here it is. Please read verse number 20.
20. He who goes with the wise will become wise, but he who befriends the fools will be broken.
In the Hebrew wording, okay, when it says, especially in the Bible, and especially in this part of the Bible, the Mishlei part, when it says the wise, the meaning of this is someone that is righteous. And when it says the fools, usually it means also someone that is a fool and he is wicked. Okay, this is going to get, those are words that are going together. And it says here some sort of an advice. If you will go with the wise, you will become wise. It's not only with smartness, it's also with your behavior. And if you will go and you will be a friend of the fools, the wicked people, this is what will happen to you. You will be broken. You will be a fool, you will be wicked. And the example, I will say, that it's being, that our sages are bringing is when you're going to a perfume store where they're selling all the perfume to the women, okay? You're going inside to this place, you're feeling the good smell, right? And if you will go out, people will feel that you are already in a perfume place. Usually also we're putting a bit, testing on this part of the hand or something like that. And we are accepting from the good smell to ourselves. This is how it's happening when you're going with the wise people, with the righteous people. You're managing to get the perfume of them, the good smell of them, to understand and to learn what exactly to do and how to do, and to knowledge yourself in the right way, how to behave with a lot of things, not only with learning this and learning that, also how to behave. And when you're going to a place where it stinks, for example, when I was in Australia 25, 28 years ago, I was supposed to bring back, all sorts of reasons, I was supposed to go to a place where they're gathering together all the garbage. It's a stinky place. They're doing a lot of good work there, but it's a stinky place. It's hard to be there inside. And when you go out from there, it is taking you sometimes 2 days to take out your smell from yourself. And this is what it says here. If you will go and you will be a friend of fools, of people who are wicked people, who are not working in the right way or not behaving in the right way, you might get stink from them. You might get the same, I will say, environment. We have a word, we have some sort of a say in the Hebrew army, if you working on the toilets to organize it all the time, so sometimes you also will be you will be stink, you will get the smell of the toilet. It's important. We need people that are working on the toilet, but this is what's happening with them usually, and it's okay. They need to just to take more showers than us, and this is what this verse is advising us, and it's related 100% with what he's offering us here. Okay, he's offering us here, or he's saying to us, bring your house to a stage where all the sages want to meet there. So there will be like, the bees who are coming to the honey in a place where they know they can be there, they can live there, they can have their gathering there, and you will get the good smell also outside. But there's another thing that he's teaching, and this is the second thing. What is the second thing? He's saying, sit in the very dust of their feet. What is the meaning of this? Okay, how can we understand that? I will say like that. If someone is walking on the ground where we don't have, it is not an organized place like in the cities. It's more, instead of a road, it's something there with all of the dust, and someone is walking there, so the dust is coming up. So this is another way that of getting connected with the sages. You're going after them, and you're getting all the dust. Okay, you feel very close with them. But this is only one way to look on this. In those days, in the old days of Yoezer Ish Tzoreda, they were learning like that. The rabbi was standing usually, or sitting on a chair or something, and all the students sat down on the ground. Now today we have inside, the houses, we're organizing the ground in all sorts of ways. In those days, they were sitting down on the dust. And what he is telling us, okay, that don't hesitate. Sit down and listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. But there is another, you know what? Maybe we can show this a bit with some sort of a verse that is bringing something very similar. Just a moment. Let's see in Genesis. Okay, I'll go to Genesis for one moment. This is in chapter. Let me see that I want to lose it. Maybe here. I think it's here. So right. Please read verse number 25.
25. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn.
And we know that this is the meaning of this is he was fighting against what we call the angel of Esau. Okay, but in the Hebrew it's the same word. He had a fight until the dust came up between them. Okay, when you're wrestling with someone, there is some sort of a dust that is coming. Again, if you're in a place without dust, the dust won't go up. But if you on the sand or something, the dust will go up. And the meaning of what Yosef in Ezra is telling us, don't hesitate to argue, to discuss, to have, I will say, some sort of a trying to understand. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Everything like you bringing dust between both of you. Of course, at the end, you need to be with humility to accept the words of the rabbi and to understand. But you need to understand. Therefore, have some sort of a debate, question, whatever it is, with the dust between both of you. Okay? Until you're managing to understand everything. This, and when I'm saying, when he's saying until the level of the dust, he says basically that you need to have also a bit of humility. You are inside the dust, not the rabbi. Okay, so have connection with him, debate with him, ask questions, try to understand everything. But at the end, don't forget your position in front of him. And at the end, of course, we're managing to bring ourselves to the right position with everything. And the last point, that he's saying, okay, is that you need to drink the words in thirst. I will say it like that. I will give an example. My main rabbi, I'm very connected with Rabbi Uri Sherki. We all know that. And my main rabbi was Rabbi Chaim. He passed away a year and a few months ago. 90 years. He was 90 years old. I've learned from him. There were a few lessons. I was sitting in front of him in his yeshiva for 10 years, and then I also learned another 10 years. Okay, from him, I was learning. I was going to him and learning from him almost every week. There are few lessons, not one, few lessons, okay, that I've heard from him 5 times, 6 times. I knew already what he's going to say in the next stage, Now, there are 2 things I want to mention here. First of all, even though he gave those lessons sometimes even 20 and 40 and 50 times, okay, every time that he gave the lesson, he sat down, he prepared himself, he looked exactly at his notes, if he had something to add or not something to add. And once, one of his son-in-laws, one of my good friends, his son-in-law, asked him, he said to him, look, but this is, you know this lesson by heart. How come you are, again, preparing yourself, not sleeping at night, preparing yourself for giving this lesson? And his answer was, this is Torah. We need to be with a lot of fear. I'm going to give a lesson of the Torah. I need to be prepared, even though I know this lesson. I need to look again. Okay, with the thirst, Torah, something that even though you know it, you're looking again. And the same thing is with us as students. I knew already this lesson. I've heard it once. It's not the same. Now that you're listening and you're hearing it second time, if you have this, I will say, the humility, the understanding of accepting and learning from the Rabbi, and understanding that it's not just a knowledge. And this is one of the main differences between knowledge and Torah. Listen good. If I want to learn mathematics, I'm going to the books. I'm learning all the ideas of the mathematics in this book. When I know all the formulas, all those things, when I know the formula and the mathematics that's inside the book, it's inside my head, I can take the book and burn it. I don't need it anymore. I know it. Right? In the Torah, it's not like that. In the Torah, and this is one of the most important things, it's being written down also in the Kuzari, Rabbi is bringing it. The most important thing is not just the knowledge of the Torah. It's to be connected with the rabbis, and this is all the 3 things that he's teaching here. To be connected with the rabbis, because when the rabbis are speaking, this is where you're getting connected with the words of God, with the will of God alive in this world. Let me show this for a moment in the Bible. Of course, usually, right? After all, it's still Genesis class. We need also to learn a bit of the Bible. So we're not going to show this in Genesis. I'm going to show this in Exodus. I'm going to show this in 2 places. The first place I'm going to show is a big debate between Moses and Jethro. We all know that Jethro taught Moses that the only way of teaching or judging the older nation or the Hebrew nation is by giving, doing some sort of those who are in charge on the hundreds, the thousands, some sort of it. So you can't do it by yourself. But let's see for a moment exactly what Jethro is saying and what Moses is answering him. Okay? Jethro is saying, no, it's not 19, it's 18, sorry. Chapter 18. Jethro is saying like that. Please read verse number 14. He's asking him, okay?
14. When Moses' father-in-law saw what he was doing to the people, he said, "What is this thing that you are doing to the people? Why do you sit by yourself while all the people stand before you from morning until evening?"
So the main point here is by yourself. I'm not going inside to Moses' answer, okay? But exactly what he's saying to him, please read 17 and 18, and we all know the idea that he's giving, please.
17. Moses' father-in-law said to him, "The thing you are doing is not good." 18. You will surely wear yourself out, both you and these people who are with you, For the matter is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone.
Fair enough. By yourself, you cannot do it alone. But what Moses is answering him, he's right. Moses is accepting his idea. But Moses is saying something else. When he's asking, why are you doing it by yourself? Please read verse number 15.
15. Moses said to his father-in-law, for the people come to me to seek God.
Something else. He's not saying to him, I'm judging them. People are coming for me because they're seeking God. Okay, they're looking for God. Where can they find God? Someone that is alive, that have connection with God. Okay, the prophet. Today we don't have the prophecy. Okay, so we have the sages of Israel. So fair enough. But this is exactly the issue. I can show this again I lost my time. So there's also another one in chapter again here. It's coming again and again in the Bible. Next time I will show you. Oh, let me see.
Amen.
Shalom uvracha. Toda rabba, Rav Shmuel.
Shalom uvracha.
I need to finish today a bit early. But again, it's the same thing, the same idea. Okay, and this is what he is saying here. Drink, in their words, with thirst. You want to get connected with live rabbi who is speaking with you, and with someone that you can discuss, someone you can hear him, someone that is alive in this world, that is holding and preserving this, I will call it the chain of the rabbis with bringing the words of God. When you're seeking for God, this is one of the things that you need to do. And all those three ideas that we've learned today, okay, is getting connected with the words of God. Now, Dan, I'm really sorry for tonight. I want to bless everybody for a very good week. Hopefully next week we'll meet. I'm doing you co-host. I'm doing you the host. Sorry. No. I'm doing you the host. And
thank you, Rabbi. Okay, so yeah, we will aim for next week, and it'll probably be the same time because of daylight savings.
Fair enough. Okay, yes. Bye, everybody. Good week. Bye.
Okay, good evening, gentlemen.
Glad to have you with us, Rabbi Hirschler. Anything you want to add?
My great pleasure. I hope so. I imagine by you it's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is in the East Coast. You're in the western side, so it's a bit earlier. Right. I like to carry on something in the spirit of what the rabbi was mentioning. I was just in another Zoom now, but it somehow ties to the subject matter that he was dealing with. We have a very solid idea, which is called tradition. And when you're talking about connecting with the scholar, what you actually receive is not only the technical wisdom and the methodology of how the person teaches, you also learn the patterns of his or her thought, and you take it a step further. As one of the nice things that we have in the tradition is that the ladies light candles before the Sabbath begins, and that light basically eternalizes the idea that the light brings a new exposure into the family of a tradition that actually will generate itself in the years to come. There's a beautiful passage in the Talmud, Dan, you may be familiar with it, I'm not sure, that a person who actually adds a number of candles to his table and to his lighting will have scholarly children. His children will become scholars themselves. And Rabbi Cook of blessed memory explains that, light is something that adds, of course, to physical benefit, especially in time when it's dark. When you have candles, or if there's a power failure, candles can be an alternative. But that's the physical side of the light. The main point is that you light for one person and you do a good job, you have a good sense of electricity, 200, 300 people can enjoy from it as well. So the more light you bring to the world, the more general contribution you are doing. And the purpose of a scholar or of a good teacher is to expand the knowledge of the Torah to as many people as possible who will benefit from it. And therefore, the more you're involved in candle lighting, you're inspired from the idea of bringing light. It is something which is a very positive gesture that a person is contributing to the world. In the sanctuary that we are reading in these portions of the week at this time of the year, the candelabrum is something which is the central vessel in the sanctuary, and not coincidentally, because the light that originates from there, first of all, has an element of wisdom, but also is a dimension of continuity. We find that King David, when he was already in his latter part of his leadership, we find that in Samuel 2, his younger family said, don't go out to war now. We don't want the candle of Israel to blow out, meaning you are a sense of stability and tradition for us. And when you actually continue with the light, we are receiving the guidance from you. There was a famous story, you may have heard about this, that there was a pretty senior person, and there are a couple of professions today which are virtually becoming rare. But when you and I were younger people, there was still a lot of people involved in such work. For example, how many people today are shoemakers? How many people fix watches today? These are type of trades which are becoming less and less common in the world. They're not financially very beneficial. But it used to be a tailor and a shoemaker and a watchmaker. It used to be almost in every second town there was somebody involved in this kind of activity. And the story is told about a senior person in his late 70s, early 80s that was still working as a tailor and fixing various stuff that were brought to him. And people were saying to him, you know, haven't you done enough work today? How much do you make for fixing another skirt or another shirt? Is it really worth for you? How much time do you have to work? And he said, listen, you see the lights on? As long as the light is on, we are still able to fix. It's not just a technical answer. There's a lot of beauty in that statement. As long as the light of Torah is around, as long as the ethical standards of the world, which are found in the Testament, are what we are doing, then there's a future and there's a hope. As long as we have that link to people of that nature, that's where the success arises from. And then you could be mending garments at 10 o'clock at night. And it's not just fixing the shirt or the shoes or even the watch. The shirt is the way we present ourselves to society. What we dress is what we are portraying ourselves to other people. If our watch is working, something that if it doesn't work, it bothers me, I admit, then my time schedule is not the way I would like it to be. There is a plan. There are goals that I set for myself to do today, this week, this month, and I look at the watch and see what was actually done, what was actually achieved. If you have these things that are working, the situation is better. I used to be in some of the academic institutions, something that I don't think you've seen, but there used to be monitors who used to check in dormitories of the academia and see, look, if the room looks neat and fit and everything is organized, then usually you learn better as well. If your place is well organized and clean, then your mindset is organized and clean as well. There are a lot of physical things that we make an issue of today, that the justifiability of being that way is because they portray and actually improve our professionalism. We do a better job when everything, even external, is done with proper organization. That's part of what we are expected to try to achieve. And I would say that it's not an accident that we find that God himself got involved in deciding who would be the architect who would build the sanctuary. Does it really matter who it would be? My late father was an engineer by profession, but there are hundreds and thousands of engineers all over the world being involved in construction and architecture. Why is it when the Bible talks about the sanctuary, they make such an issue about who is the one who's going to actually do this activity? And the Talmud takes it a bit further and says that the architect there was able to combine the alphabet of how the world was created. Namely, the physical creation of the world was done by God. Our mothers are the ones who contribute the most in the human race to the continued growth of the world physically, but there's still a mutual goal of both parents in adding the spiritual nourishment to the forthcoming children. And when you're talking about the nation and the universe as a whole, there's a need for a centricity of holiness. There has to be somebody who has enough potential to try to make a place into a dominating holy center. You know, they talk a lot in politics and history about various leaders who left a major impression and role in our history. But I think on the spiritual side, there's probably more clergymen in all religions that left a mark on the people where they live, to a certain extent, even more than politicians, in the sense that a politician is usually in an office for a certain amount of time. Some of the stuff he does reasonable, some of the stuff no. And he has so many, or she, so many things that influence their behavior. Yet the clergy person has a role on a religious basis, which is virtually something which is lifelong of a goal, something that is not limited to a few years. And there it really depends how much light there is, how much effort the person puts in to make our place a better place to live. This is a question that really comes up. Effectively, what Rabbi Goldberg is teaching in Ethics of the Fathers is also part of that principle. We're trying to find out what is the real ethos which keeps our world together. What are the goals that we need to strive for in order to make our place of living, a better place to be. And I would like to add one insight. I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but I certainly think that is true. One of the reasons of the hatred of many people in the world towards Judaism is because we upgrade the standards that are required to make the world a more ethical place. And whenever you try to impact and make a better and a higher standard of ethics, there are people who are reluctant to make the place a more ethical society. And their reaction to that is actually to be more violent than they were. Because all of a sudden they see a threat to their behavior, and that there are people out there who are definitely much more ethical than themselves, and they feel either jealous, disturbed, or that somebody is somewhat, so to speak, challenging their credibility. It's been this way ever since mankind has been around. Abraham was attacked by those who wanted to throw him into a furnace. And then Isaac is challenged by the Philistines, who try to throw him away for filling up the wells that his father initially had made. Every time you're trying to contribute something to make a better place, there are people who are reluctant to go ahead and see that. They don't want to see it. They're not interested in making the place a better, and not because they're just evil. They simply are very egoistic. They think very much about themselves and not for the well-being of the society amongst where they live. What somewhat, I admit, disappoints me, that after 3.5 and more millennia of this kind of behavior, essentially the world hasn't changed. ever since I've read the books, the leaders have always had that sense of ego and are very littly interested in the well-being of the people, even those that they lead themselves. And I think we as people are interested in upgrading our religious behavior and our commitment to the Torah should have in mind whatever we can do without being scared that their people are going to criticize our ethical standard. Who is willing to do more to make our place a better place to live? That's the real goal that we have. And there aren't that many people who actually are in that direction. I got an interesting invitation today for a wedding that's about to take place in 3 weeks from now and towards the end of March, a little before the end of the month. The unique point is that the mother of the bride is part of a major organization that deals with kidney donations. And yours truly is one of them who donated a kidney. That's why I was invited. And she invited not only the ones who donated, also the recipients, which I think is nice. In other words, you're taking people to a wedding who really need to be grateful to this woman who she and her late husband were involved in trying to build up all mechanisms. 1,600 people in this country have already donated a kidney. When I got involved, it was 1,200. Now it's already 1,600. And it's somewhat of a word of thanks to a woman who put so much time and still does in trying to upgrade the well-being of other people. When you're trying to give life to someone else, that's something which is walking in the footsteps of God. It's just an example that we have in another 2 weeks in the Jewish world. We have the Purim festival. And there, one of the main issues of the joy there is giving gifts to the poor to make sure that everybody will have an equal opportunity to join together for the happy event. By us, whenever there is a festival, there's always a financial commandment to try to assist those who have less opportunities to be rejoicing and to become part. And that's something that we always have to think, not only what's good for us, what will be the well-being for other people around us. I've had the opportunity, and as many others, on Passover to have at our table widows and divorcees and single people who don't have a family, and together 50, 60 people. This year we should have, God willing, almost 100 people with together with somebody else. We're doing it in a hall and having the Passover meal together, sort of especially for people who are single now or having not always the easiest time. And they want to be together with a widespread family for the festival. That's in a little bit more than a month from now. That's the type of thing that I believe is something we need today. We always need it, but even more nowadays, that people should not feel alone. And I'm also approaching that to you people who are making such a privileged stride in your life of deciding to come closer to the Jewish faith. There's a lot that you can be proud of, and I want to share my most appreciation of the change that you are undergoing, and with the hope that our learning together will be a source of inspiration for you, that first of all, you know that you're not lonely. There's many other people who agree with you. And the continuous learning that we will have together will give you further strength in your change, because you all of a sudden realize that this was not just a coincidental decision. It's something which has a lot to carry on and grow with. It's almost endless, the amount of activity a person can have in order to move further. I mean, a lot of you have been involved in tradition probably only about a year or two. And I've been born into this type of system for almost 60 years by now. I'm past 60 by age, but just touched it recently, a little bit, about a little more than a year ago. But let's say over 50 years for sure, I've been brought up in this type of education. and there's still endless of what to do. So how much more a person who gets involved when they're an adult and starts to be involved, you should be very proud of what you're doing, and just to continue to have that tradition. And as that old man said, as long as the candle lights, as long as that electricity works, there'll always more. You're able to fix more. You can fix another pair of shoes, you can fix another dress, and you can make our learning a little bit better also. I'm opening the floor to you if you want to have comments and questions. I spoke a little bit longer than I expected to, but you're more than welcome to say. Anything you'd like to?
I just want to mention something. I had my grandson here for a while, and it was amazing. He asked me a question. Why do you believe, Grandma, what you believe right now, since you taught me in Christianity? I said, well, I looked at all religions, and I told him about there's only one God, and it comes from Judaism. And where do you find one God? Okay, and I kept talking and talking, and he says, and I asked him a question back. So what do you believe? He says, one God like you do. So I'm like, yes, thank you, Hashem. And so he prays now to Hashem. Yeah,
amazing.
And it's like, thank you, Hashem. My grandson had problems, but they are, Hashem knows. Hashem knows his path. So, yeah, it will be interesting to go back to his family when they ask him questions.
Wow.
And it's amazing. But on the other hand, on my Facebook too, or other people's Facebook, I'm usually a positive person, but there's so much negative that's coming, like who hate people who love the Jews. It's coming more and more, it seems. But if one doesn't stand up for what one actually believes and has only the fear of God, only the fear of Hashem, the fear of heaven, there is nothing else to fear about. Man, I don't care. What does man do to you? Hashem is all powerful. So it's just a way of behavior and a way of walk. That's, I learned so much these last few weeks, anyways, with my grandson. Anyways, Baruch Hashem.
Quite amazing. Wow.
Thank you, Angelica. Yeah, I know the feeling. Trust me, I've been doing this now 6.5 years nonstop on social media for the Noahide World Center, and man, I have been in some pretty ugly conversations, and you try to stand up for what's right. All I can say is about hatred. It kind of blocks the light and tries to stay in the shadow. I mean, let's face it, sometimes light comes out there, and some people only receive reflected light, and other people get direct light, and you've got to know the difference, and you need to be able to discern when shadow is blocking the light, and be able to either move aside from the shadow or eliminate what's causing the shadow, for sure. Never easy.
But from what I'm understanding too is I'm so thankful for the rabbis who are teaching Torah. I am so thankful. I have no other words to say, just to bless them, because I learn something each time around, and it makes me want to learn more and more. Like I can't comprehend it all, but it's all good. This is what makes me happy.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
absolutely true.
Just
Collins, yeah, go ahead, Collins.
Yeah, just add to what you were saying. I was in the Habbat show this morning for Nottingham, and there was a conversation after the prayer meeting this morning, and somebody was saying that the Jews in diaspora haven't done enough to shed a light on Judaism to the world. And that's why the Jews experience some of the challenging status of today. So I was saying that we have a very positive movement. That Noahide have rabbis who are teaching the Torah from Jerusalem, and it's really supporting and giving the truth to several people around the world. And I was very proud of what you are doing because it was a very good opportunity to speak about the work that you are doing around the world. And they were quite impressed that we have such movement that is teaching the truth from the rabbis in Jerusalem. So I think as time goes on, I'm sure that we shall be getting more positive results around the world.
You know what? It's also, to a certain extent, it's good that people are a little bit have criticism, because that gives them more stimulation to do more. I don't think we have to be scared about people that would say they would like to see more. To the contrary, that's good. When there's more jealousy and there's more interest of learning, it actually pushes it forward. So I appreciate what you're saying, and indeed, the more we can do, the better. But as I must say to Angelica, the hatred that we find in the evil is because people are scared of those who are trying to bring forward a more ethical world, and the way they react to it is often violent because they don't have a positive defense mechanism. That's part of the way they behave. We have to live with that. We know that. You know what? Once we know that, as Charles Dickens would say, I don't have great expectations. In other words, if I know that's what they're going to be like, so we live with that. That's how it is.
Well said, for sure. Bart, you got any comments, anything you want to add?
I'm thinking I'm always slow because I hear so much.
You're concise.
I need processing. What I was thinking is, it's not always possible, I think, to express yourself when you are living in an environment or with someone that is a Christian, for example. Their way of thinking is totally different. The more I learn, the more I discover how different my way of thinking is becoming from what I was thinking before. And they still live in this Christian way of thinking. It becomes difficult when there is a need for peace in the house. And the partner does not want to hear more. Then one can only express oneself by deed, by action. And one has to be careful in what he is saying because of the shalom, because of the relationship. It would not help to dispute because this would worsen the things, I think. So this makes it a bit.
I have the same problem, Bart. Sometimes I do not know when to keep silent, and sometimes keeping silent is a way of turning the dispute over to Hashem and letting Hashem fight the dispute rather than ourselves. I always seem to get stuck in these emotional pokings, where somebody's poking in your chest, trying to provoke, and it's like, we all have our limits, but knowing when to keep silent for me is definitely a great test.
Maimonides would call that the golden path, that one needs to choose and having the right balance. And it's really something which is gold. It's not easy to hold on to it. What you said, Bart, is so true and candid, and the real way to handle it is to have that proper balance. It's not easy to hold on to it, that's for sure. Sometimes we have a tendency to become emotional and extreme, and it doesn't help us. That's true.
Yeah. And there is
try to
another,
be-
sorry. There is another element I was thinking. I can say things, but they pick it up sometimes, but they process it in their way of thought. And
Absolutely.
then it's a false idea. Perhaps when I speak about God, I mean the one true God. They mean, when they hear it, they mean the triune God. You know, this is a detail, but it's everywhere. We are thinking so differently, but they think that they are on our path. They are just another mode of living, another mode of thinking, but they think they are the same as we. So it's difficult with all these barriers. This is an added element of difficulty, I think. One must be very careful in what one is saying or what one is dealing. Yeah, that's only what I can say.
Thank you very much. And it was a great opportunity to be with you people, longer than normally. And I hope we have more opportunities like that in the near future. And looking
Always
forward
good
for
to
it.
have you, Rabbi Hirschler. Thank you so much for adding positive light of Torah to the class. It makes a great difference, especially when Rabbi Goldberg's so busy. It allows us to have a full class. And thanks for Collins and Angelica and Bart for joining in the Zoom meeting. But on that note, I guess we'll aim to be back next Sunday as well. While we were having the class, I got a call from Rabbi Carmi Ingber. So he wants to resume. Well, we can't today, but we will next week. So I'll have to probably tone down the questions in order to make that deadline, because I'll be jumping right from one class into the next, and I got to have 5 minutes to set up at least. Nonetheless, I appreciate having you in this class, Rabbi Hirschler. It means a lot, and I know that the rest of the students do. And so, yeah, on that note, we're going to sign out for Genesis class for today, but we will be back next Sunday, Hashem willing. And know we're praying for you and all of Israel, and especially those in Jerusalem.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.